Ah, the Dodge Dart. It's your first car. Your car. Not your parents' Buick LeSabre. It's your Dart. Not your parents' Windstar minivan. It's your Dodge Dart. Not your parents' Mitsubishi Outlander. This is your first car, and you're going all in on it. You're a Dodge guy now. Yeah. It's all I could afford. But I'm now retconning my love of Dodge. You can see my Dodge steering wheel cover and my Dodge seat covers and my color-matched Dodge vent inserts. I didn't know that Dodge and Chrysler was the same company, but now that I know a Dodge, I know everything! I love my Dodge Dart, and I baby my Dodge Dart by putting fake carbon fiber stickers all over the HVAC controls and Dodge seatbelt pads. I love my country, but I also want to manufacture victimhood status. So I choose a flag that's tattered and torn, like my soul. And here's another flag. But I'm real about the performance of my Dodge Dart. Okay.
So what on earth does lawn care have to do with an automotive channel? Well, what you're looking at right now is a burn mark across my yard. And this mark is from where we needed to run conduit all the way to the detached garage so I can have a place to charge my car. We needed an extra box to come in on that side, go all the way up here, cross the roof, and then down to the NEMA, I think 1450 plug right there. Goes into the Amazon charger, then goes into the Niro. And we had to dig down around 6 inches, so everything got ripped up. I mean, I like clovers as much as the next person, but I want to have some grass growing in here. And with Sunday, we're going to make that possible. Sunday is a complete lawn care kit. It's simple, friendly, works with nature with powerful ingredients backed by nature, made using cutting-edge plant science. There's no harsh chemicals. It does come with a Sunday Dandelion Doom Concentrate, which kills weeds but not lawns. I'm not using that here in the sprayer that comes with it. I just filled it with water to get the ground wet before I put the fertilizer and grass seed combination mix down. If you do decide to use the Dandelion Doom Concentrate, you have to let it sit for a day before you can go back and then add your grass seed and fertilizer. Sunday is plant-friendly, designed with your family in mind, designed with safety in mind, with carefully selected ingredients. Although I'm being a good role model here and wearing gloves as if I am touching the real weed killer. I'm not a big lawn care guy. I cut my lawn. That's pretty much what I do. But with Sunday, it makes it so easy. It comes with easy to follow instructions. So if this is your first time getting your lawn together, or if you are a seasoned professional, this is also fantastic. Sunday has both liquid and granular plans depending on the needs of your lawn. I'm using the granular fertilizer, but it did come with a pack of liquid fertilizer if that's more your game. So click on the link in the description and use code REGULAR30 for 30% off your first custom lawn plan. That is REGULAR30 to get 30% off your first custom lawn plan. Thank you so much.
Brian, for a second. So my first car was this Dart's predecessor, the second-gen Dodge Neon, and I loved that car, and I accessorized it to the height of fashion. On my Dodge Neon, I put in a second set of fog lights. And I put in windshield washer nozzles with lights in them and a 12-inch sub in the trunk. So I get it. I get the Super Saiyan blue. It was a Super Saiyan black. I don't know. I lost track after Dragon Ball Z. And I get all the air fresheners. Because nothing ruins your chances of having mutual orgasms than a car full of Chipotle farts. The Dodge Dart is Fiat Chrysler Stellantis' last attempt to build an affordable small sedan for first-time car buyers. But unlike the cheerful Neon, the Dodge Dart was styled to be, "Arrgh! Oh, I'm so angry. I'm angry and mean. I just got assigned to my first platoon. And on the rare chances I have to leave base, I walk around Walmart saying I'm a war veteran.
I'm a JV wrestler, and I'm at home grabbing my ears and twisting them like Twizzlers, trying to give myself cauliflower ears so I can intimidate the other schools when I move up to varsity. I'm a Dodge Dart. I'm an economy car with no sporting pedigree or performance to speak of."
Here we go. Come on, Dodge. See if you can catch that air scream. Foot on the floor. Woo! Oh, and it goes right to redline each time.
Yeah.
It definitely is making Dodge sounds, but the Airstream trailer, now we caught up to it.
Yeah. I think the what's that? The Geo Metro could have caught that.
Oh, that thing honestly moved. Oh, this thing honestly moved okay.
Yeah.
Moved okay.
I mean, this thing. I looked at the weight on the door because that's where you can find like all the door stuff for it. It weighs and I looked at the Camaro to compare. This thing weighs like almost like 200 pounds less than a Camaro. A
Really?
V6 Camaro manual. Yeah.
Huh.
And I was like, what the hell is this doing?
It would be neat if we could get our hands on the turbo one, see if had.
The turbo.
Did they make an RT version of this?
They were going to, but they canceled it. They were going to make an SRT4 one too. I think it's going to be a 2.4 turbo, the Huracan 4-cylinder in it. But they canceled that one along with the car, so, you know, us Dodge Dart drivers can't have nice things.
Yes, turbos exist, but they are slightly faster version of this
Rental car with soft suspension, budget brake pads, and no amount of brake caliber covers will change that. Riddle me this, Goku. I'm Frieza. This is my best Frieza voice. I hope you like those senzu beans. Because surprise! They're my balls! And my penis is hard! Goku, you'll never defeat me! Because having a child won't save your marriage!
Dodge Dart. Factory tuned for teenagers. The Dodge Dart isn't an important car on its own. In a vacuum, who could possibly care about a car that even Fiat Chrysler's president didn't like? It's hard to even care about the Dart outside of a vacuum. But it's important in the larger context of American automotive history for one reason. It was foreshadowing the decline of the sedan in the United States. Look, I know sedans aren't disappearing, not entirely. I really like the Hyundai Ioniq 6. That's a sedan, sleek-looking thing. It's different. It's new. It's something fresh. So sedans are still on the road. People are still driving them. But the sedans you see tend to be used, and with good reason. New sedans are like the sperm count of an MMA fighter ducking the commission. The numbers are always dwindling. Automakers are gradually discontinuing production on sedans. The Chevy Malibu is apparently getting phased out this year, and rumors are that the Nissan Altima is getting axed in 2025. Now, trust me, we're not exactly going to mourn that poorly made, overpriced automotive ransomware, but it's going to be another gasoline-powered sedan to toss on the scrap heap next to the Focus, the Fusion, the Taurus, and all the other stuff Ford used to make before they stopped making anything other than Mustangs, pickup trucks, and SUVs with more pointless problems than the SATs. It's all part of the reality facing the auto industry. The 2022 Car Buyer Journey study found that the average person buying a new car was 51 years old. It also found that dissatisfaction surrounding the car buying process was up between inventory issues, the amount of time the process takes, and the jacked up prices, some of which have nothing to do with the manufacturer and everything to do with extraordinate dealer markups. These all come together to create a perfect storm to destroy the long-term viability of the gasoline-powered sedan. And the reason is that the current market is at a place where most people can only afford one car. And they're lucky if that car is new. And even luckier if they're not shelling out an insane monthly payment for the privilege. And so what happens? Well, when you only get one crack at it, and you're older than your parents were when they bought new, you're probably going to go with something that can be everything you need it to be. And for a lot of people, that's not a sedan. You could argue that the need for a more versatile daily driver is what kept SUVs and crossovers near the top of the field at the turn of the century. The Honda S2000 could not survive in that atmosphere. Hell, the Corvette almost didn't. It was a situation that only got worse in the decade that followed, culminating with the absolute failure of the Dodge Dart. The PF platform Dart, this Dart, is not only one of the shortest-lived Dodge production vehicles, but the last Fiat Chrysler compact sedan altogether. I believe the PF platform Dart was the first Dodge compact since they axed the Neon, and it was a canary in the coal mine for the sedan, because they only gave this Dart 3 years, then put it 6 feet under with the Chrysler 200. Even as Dodge continued reporting sales for the Dart as recently as 2023, when they sold a whopping 3 units. And I get it. The events of 2020 and the global chip shortage that followed caused a lot of inventory and production issues that are still being felt today. But the reality is that Fiat Chrysler didn't really seem to believe in this car in their own right. In 2017, just after the Dart was discontinued, the FCA president told journalists that the Dart and the 200 were a mistake, saying, quote, "I don't know one investment that was as bad as these two were." And that's saying something for Fiat Chrysler, a brand with long-standing allergy toward getting out of its own way. This was a car introduced in the model year 2013 and promoted as being derived from the Alfa Romeo architecture, with a name revived from decades earlier, a compact package housing a larger heritage. Yet it had trouble keeping pace with the Chevy Cruze. The Dart was discontinued before it could even get an SRT4 variant, not that it would have any sort of effect on its outcome. This is a 2015 model, the best sales year, and even then, it topped out at just under 90,000 units sold. The value of this car, and to the legacy of sedans in general, is to be that affordable beater on the used market. The car you give to your son because he's learning to drive, and you need to give him a car that you don't care about losing. He's going to inherit that car and make it his entire personality, because teenagers aren't used to having things that are completely theirs. More than an attic bedroom, a car is as close to a teenager gets to having their own apartment before 18. Why wouldn't it become their entire identity? Being a guy with the Dart is better than being the kid who wiped out on the gym floor trying to backflip at prom. But there's another reason why sedans seem to be going away, and why a sedan like this is more important in an age where it makes less sense to buy new. A report by the Federal Highway Administration showed that driver's licenses among teenagers declined by nearly 24% between 1995 and 2021. Sure, having a car to learn on generally makes things easier, and driving is often a necessary skill to have. But if you don't have a job that requires you to have a car, and your transportation needs are being met elsewhere, then it can make more sense to simply not do it. Because that's money you're saving on a car, on insurance, on lessons, if you have no one to teach you. Sedans tend to be the starter car for the American teenager. But if the American teenager is driving less these days than at any point in history, then that's another point against the need for new sedans. Then that's another point against the need for new sedans for anything other than rideshare services, which exclude cars past a certain age. But even I recognize when I travel with RCR and we need a Lyft or an Uber from an airport somewhere, I tend to not pick the base level rideshare, either Uber or Lyft. You want Uber Black or Lyft X or something, because I know a car with a big trunk is coming, which really just means a Ford Explorer, another SUV or a large crossover that can handle all our gear. Friggin' Dodge Dart shows up, I don't know if we're getting all this stuff in there. Now naturally, EVs are keeping new sedans on the road. Again, I've been looking at Ioniq 6s, but I recognize that my Niro hatch is probably the superior car for everyday use. But that's another situation where cost is a factor more than most, because EVs don't really make sense unless you own a house in which to charge it, even with the infrastructure being better than it was. But then, that's really only if you have a Tesla or have a car that has access to Tesla's network. It's like, I got to drive down to Wilmington, Delaware tomorrow. I know this video comes out later, but I got to drive down to Wilmington, Delaware. And I'm like, oh crap, I actually have to charge my Niro somewhere. So I'm either going to go to the Plymouth Meeting Mall or the King of Prussia Mall and hope that it's not going to be a line outside of the Electrify America chargers. This is all to say that unless EVs take off at a larger level or the hybrid becomes a more attractive option to your average seller, the sedan is going to be the pride and joy of the used market. Same as it ever was, I guess. But I don't know that the Dart would ever be the pride and joy of that market. It wasn't even the pride and joy of its creators. In a way, the Dodge Dart is a lot like a teenager entering the driving age. It's not exactly cool, but it doesn't really seem to care if it's cool or not. It was never its parents' favorite, but it tried to find its footing in a world less receptive to its presence than it might have anticipated. The Dart, within 3 years, discovered that the world is a harsh place, but with age, it becomes more forgiving.
So you open this up to try to get the terminals off. You have a
Whoa.
200 amp fuse right there. You take that out, where if it blows, the battery doesn't help you start the car. You gotta get a whole new fuse. Same with the a 60 and a 70. Those blow or go bad, then you gotta replace them. The actual, because if you take this out, then that's the actual cable, and that's not good. And so the actual way to take the battery out is through this little nut right there that's just off to the side from everything else. You just gotta take that out, and then if you gotta jump it, you just take this cap off, and then it's a very cheap cap. As you can tell, it's very twisted and contorted. So
What's weird is that like they hardly give you enough room to get any torque on that.
oh, and yeah,
Before you're hitting.
So you take that bolt out and this whole box comes off.
this comes out with it. But like I was saying to Nick, that like if someone that doesn't have never done a battery before and they're doing it in their driveway, they won't know like which one to like they're gonna think it's either this one because the cable goes right to it. So
Yeah.
they take this out and then the cable flops around and this whole assembly's still gonna be on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the cable still goes to that hold down. So then you're still not gonna be able to get it off. If they take this off and then they're not going to be able to start their car. Same with these two. So it's, of course, always off to the side. And GM does that same thing, too. Because my dad has a Sierra Denali, and his is like that, but bigger, with more fuses, and it's just terrible.
Fuses protecting what?
Protecting, like, the battery or something like that from, like, corroding. I don't know. That's the one thing I never understood. I opened it up and looked at it. I was like, what does that fuse do? And Mazda has the same thing, but Mazda's is worse because their battery hold down, like, it goes down. So it comes up and the terminals are right there, so you have to, like, finagle that. The one thing I also did to this thing, it was one of the first things I did, because when I got this thing, around 37,000 miles, when I got it, it had EVAT problems.
Uh-huh.
And it started sputtering, and that's because the purge valve was bad. Behind the air intake system.
Oh,
so
okay.
If you take this whole assembly out, then the purge will just be right there.
Right.